Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night, France versus Albazi. Listen, there's so much to talk about. Obviously, we'll get to the main thing in a couple seconds, but there's two robberies on the card. Two robberies, one that no one will probably care about, and then one that also nobody will care about, because I don't know how you fix this, right? The UFC has done things like this where if somebody gets robbed, they kind of, acknowledge the robbery in certain cases. In certain cases, not so much. In certain cases, kind of. So it's really tricky how this will work here. High class isn't the right word. It's a very high profile flyweight fight. And France was robbed. And, as I was watching it, listen, I just skimmed online. There's always talk about the commentary. And I'll talk about them today too. But the commentary, in my opinion, doesn't influence the scorecards. That's irrelevant. I never get that added criticism of the commentary was trash, mixed in with this person got robbed. I really think that doesn't have an effect. We'll talk about what I think does have an effect on the judges, but that's a separate thing. What I'm really concerned about here is how will they do right by France? Because the moment the fight started, deep into, I think, round 3, just the way it was being talked about, I felt Cannonier Strickland vibes. And for those who don't understand, it's basically Strickland is beating Cannonier and Strickland gets robbed. Basically, it's the same scorecard. 49-46 Strickland, 49-46 France. We'll get to that in a second. And both get robbed. I don't know whether it's the apex. I don't know whether it's the weird, the atmosphere. This has to stop. First of all, these apex shows have to stop. We have to take these out. We have to throw these apex shows away because they're devaluing how good that fight was. Insane. And you put that with a crowd. I'm just so pissed right now because I'm just thinking all over the place of we're just Volkanovski gets robbed in his hometown or where the region he's from, right? And granted, those are UFC judges, but I'm not saying robberies are good, but it's one thing when it's a fight that happens around a bunch of people. In this setting, it's in the apex, where Albazi filled up the entire crowd with extreme couture people. I'm lost. And every time he strikes that misses, there's someone in the crowd clapping. And this is just me being angry. But let me compose myself and get to the point, which is, this isn't even one of the robberies where, the strikes are close or it's a difference between the grappling and the striking. No. We've scored rounds like this. We've scored rounds like this on this card that they got right, but zoom over to the main event, and all of a sudden everyone's going, we don't know how to score rounds where someone fails takedowns and gets outstruck on the feet. Gets outstruck on the feet and still wins the round somehow. Or the only round you could argue for him is where he successfully gets takedowns and then holds him down there and does enough to win that. I'm lost on how on two judges, and the third one, but that's a separate thing. Two judges are sitting there going, yeah, Albazi's banking this in. Like, listen, first of all, the commentary team this week was terrible. Garbage. Laura Senko is just saying nothing. She's just saying platitudes. Michael Bisping wants to be Mr. Comedian Man. And Brendan Fitzgerald sucks. He sucks. So bad that we need John Gooden back. They were asking, if we go to Tajikistan, can I go? No, you can't fucking go. Anybody can go, but Brendan Fitzgerald. No one's paying attention to the fight. Michael Bisping can't score cards to save his life, but that's not even the point. That's not even the point. The real point, the real thing that we need to put into like clear view isn't the commentary team being shit at its job, right? It isn't the crowd. It's how the fuck can they get smaller stake fights correct on scorecards, but get this wrong. We scored this every week. We do this every week. You can't tell me it's because of the week off. It's the week off, and suddenly they come back and they're like, you know what? Dude got outstruck and held dude against the fence for like maybe a minute. Didn't complete any of his takedowns. You know what? You know what? That's enough to win the round. This isn't making any sense. It's not making any sense whatsoever. Let me get into it. Let's start into it, okay? First robbery of the night. Lins versus Grishin. No, I don't care. I think it's a robbery. We're going to get into it, okay? First round. All right? Lins outstrucks Grishin. Pretty simple. Okay? Most of the strikes are clinch strikes, and he outstrikes him on the feet. We go to the second round. It's actually close on the feet, okay? It's close on the feet, but it's not close in the sense of you could argue this for Lins. No. Grishin outstrikes Lins mostly with clinch strikes. He's active in the clinch, and he outstrikes him on the feet. This is clear Grishin. And then we go to the third round, which is obvious. Grishin outstrikes Lins. This wasn't even a split decision. It's insane how they just went to... Guys, I'm telling you right now, we've seen many fights where people are attempting takedowns, holding people against the fence. Do the same thing Lins did, which is give little to no clinch strikes and not get the round. All of a sudden, we just give the round to Lins because he holds Grishin there the entire time. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. The entire theme of this fight is Lins controls Grishin for most of the fight. Doesn't get a takedown. I know this is irrelevant to the actual scoring part, but I'm just painting a picture. Doesn't get a takedown. Lands little to no clinch strikes throughout the second and the third, because in the first round he outstrikes Grishin. It's the second and the third that I'm referring to. Little to no clinch strikes, while Grishin is active in the clinch. This is 2 fights now. I can't remember the other one. I go back in the crates, but this is 2 fights now where a person getting outstruck in the clinch is just like, they're just like, no, we're not counting that. We're not counting that. It's insane. And he gets outstruck on the feet in the last 2 rounds. And we're just like, yep, Lins wins. The fact that this is pissing me off even more. The fact that the commentary was like, yeah, it's a pretty comfortable win for Lins. Why? Because he held him there? What are you watching? You aren't watching anything. All right. So there's that. My scorecard is 29-28. I gave the first round to Lins. I gave the last 2 rounds to Grishin, obviously. And we go to the judges' scorecards. Derek Cleary just has it in reverse. He gives the first 2 rounds to Lins, last round to Grishin. Okay. Same thing for Mike Bell. And then Adelaide Bird gives all 3 rounds. Guys, what? Yo, Lord help me. Someone help me. Someone fucking help me. She gives all 3 rounds. She's not watching. She's actually not watching the fight. She's actually, like, all 3 judges were bad here because they gave the second round to Lins. She gives the third round to Grishin. Excuse me. She gives the third round to Lins. How? Lins gets outstruck in all areas of this round. She's only looking at the fact that Lins is holding Grishin against the cage. She's not watching. What the fuck is going on? Okay. All right. We move on. Big robbery, but no one will care about that. We go to the most important robbery, which is Kara-France versus Albazi. Oh my God. You can just feel it in the air. When the commentary just says this is a close fight, you know someone's about to get stabbed. the overuse of close, at first I would defend it, right? Because there'd be many times many robberies would be kind of in the close area, right? But it all, at a certain point, it comes down to no, it's a robbery. Like, you didn't score this correctly. It's bad. And even if you're to be charitable, the only close to charitable, if you want to be super charitable, if you want to go 2-2, like the Twitter scorecards were saying, which is ridiculous, by the way, it's a 4-1 finish. It's a 4-1 scorecard. Realistically speaking, we'll talk about it in a second. But even if you wanted to be charitable, that would be round 2. You could just toss up round 2 to Albazi, just to be cute. I don't know how this is scored so badly. So I'm going to read out my scorecards. First 2 rounds, Kara France. Third round is the only legit round for Albazi, right? And even there, the commentary, who can't score to save their lives, are even contemplating. They're even like, in this weird area, they're even contemplating. They're even like, Kara France even landed like some decent, much better ground and pound at the end, but still it's irrelevant because it was at the very tail end of the round. It doesn't matter. But even decent ground and pound at the end to end the third round. But again, irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Third round to Albazi. Last 2 rounds to Kara France. I expressed that very vocally. Last 2 rounds to Kara France. I'm going to read the descriptions. In the first round, Kara France pretty much outstrikes Albazi on the feet. Right? I know there's this theme in this fight that very little of the strikes weren't clean. If you're counting just the clean strikes, if you're counting, forget about the glancing ones, the ones that Albazi hit on Kara France's shoulder 18 times, the ones that Kara France hit on Albazi's shoulder 24 times. Forget about the shots that, or when both fighters were hitting each other's chest instead of their face. Forget about the strikes that didn't land. If you just count the strikes that did land cleanly, Kara France outstrikes him walking away. First round, Kara France outstrikes Albazi on the feet. All right, there's a segment in that first round where they're in the clinch, and they're both fairly active enough to where it doesn't influence the round, or it shouldn't influence the round. But we go on. You go to the second round. Okay, you go to the second round where Kara France outstrikes Albazi, but barely. It's by like 2 to 3 strikes. But again, you count up the clean strikes, he outstrikes him. It's pretty much Kara France's round. So even if you were to be cute here, you could do a Emmett versus Cater, where you split the first 2 rounds. Sure, right? Making it 48-47, but we already got past that. First 2 rounds, Kara France. You go to the third round where Albazi gets 2 takedowns with some ground and pound. It's not a lot of ground and pound, but it's body head looking ish. But still, he does it for the majority of the round. Two takedowns with ground and pound and a decent submission attempt. Kara France then gets a reversal towards the end of the round, about like last 20 seconds of the round, and then gets some nice ground and pound. But it's not enough to steal the round. So we're looking 2-1 here, Kara France so far. Last 2 rounds. During the 4th and the 5th round, Albazi's trying to get a takedown. Doesn't get a legit takedown. Kara France gets a takedown and outstrikes Albazi on the feet. And has some ground and pound down there as well. Has some, not legit ground and pound, but a few shots down there when he gets the takedown in that 4th round. Then in the 5th round, stays on the feet the entire time. Kara France outstrikes him whole. This is 49-46. 49-46, you can't, if you want to be liberal, you can say 48-47. But 49-46. We go to the scorecards. We go to the dreaded scorecards. Okay. We're going to start with Chrisley. First round he gives to Kara France. So, first round he sees it. He sees it. Which the first round and the second round are close to identical, but he sees it. Kara France, first round. Second round he gives to Albazi. I'll offer leeway because he barely outstruck him, but whatever. Third round he gives to Albazi. Okay. fourth round. The fourth round. The last two are Kara France's biggest rounds. Fourth round, he gives to Albazi. Fifth round, he gives to Kara France. Throw the scorecard away. Nonsense. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. They keep getting away with it. Saul D'Amato decides, let me end this right now. Gives the first 3 rounds to Albazi. I don't know how you're watching that fight and you give the first 3 rounds to Albazi and you're sitting there thinking, yeah, yep, confidently. Gives the first 3 rounds to Albazi. Nonsense. First 3 rounds to Albazi. Last 2 he gives to Kara France. Mike Bell. First round to Kara France. Second round to Albazi, but whatever. We already talked about that. Third round to Albazi. Gives the last 2 to... Mike Bell might be the only good one out of the bunch. This is insane. There's nothing to say here. There really is nothing to say here. And man got robbed. Heavily robbed. And what are the UFC going to do? We've seen the UFC be like, yeah, that guy got robbed and we're going to take care of it. I haven't watched the post-fight interviews. I haven't watched the post-fight press conference. I don't know if Dana... All I've seen is just clips of Dana talking about other shit. Shit that has nothing to do with the UFC, right? It's media members who... Bro, it's media members who are so focused on the business side of MMA, and they're not even focused on the correct business side, right? The only thing they focus on is fighter pay. But I'm not talking about like complaining online. I'm talking about when they're up in Dana's face. They want to pretend to be tough to Dana. Hey Dana, why can't you give us a date for this guy fighting this guy? Yeah, I'll tell you guys. Yeah, man, I'll give you this fight. Yeah, guys, I'll give you this fight. I'll let you have this fight. That's what you guys are pining him for? You guys have no actual questions that ask him. You guys have no questions that challenge him in any way. The challenging questions are the ones that are like, oh, you guys are like pining for a date that'll eventually get announced. That's what you guys do for a living? Not legit fucking questions. You guys ask shitty fucking questions that make no sense. Why is Paulo Costa fighting a guy who's because do your fucking research. He's decent enough to where we can jump him into the whatever. And then Dana will say something to whether or not I'm getting worked or not, but to the effect of nobody wants to fight this guy. So pick your poison. Like those are the hills these guys are dying on. Not, hey, this is like the 2 billionth fight in the Apex. Why aren't we anywhere else? Are you guys still being affected by COVID? Can you guys not handle a show anywhere? I know we're not closed down. We can't use that excuse anymore. What are you fucking talking about? Why are we still in the Apex? 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 That's a legit question. Hey, remember that time you said you were going to give a fight to fucking some casino in California? What happened to that? Where are we ever going there? Why are we in the Apex? We're still in the fucking Apex. That's the question you guys are asking. You guys are asking about boxing questions. When you guys should be asking, hey, remember that time some dude got beat up like really badly? Matinho got whipped badly, so you gave him a fight bonus? Remember when Mackenzie Dern dominated Angela Hill and so we gave her a fight bonus? That fight wasn't fucking close. Here's your fight bonus for getting milked. Remember that time we thought that somebody won a particular fight, so we still gave them their fight bonus? Now, if they give that to Kara France, that's cool, but that's still irrelevant. Are you going to look at this fight like he won? Like he won. Yeah, we're still going to acknowledge the fact that blah, 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 blah. Here you go. They've done that for many other fights, but for some reason, None of those clips came out. It's just, oh my God, Tyson Fury and blah, 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 blah. This and that. Dude got robbed. I'm talking out of pocket. I haven't seen the interview. I'll probably go check out the interview later. What? This kid got robbed. And we're getting questions about bullshit. And then next week, we're going to have another shitty match. We're going to have another shitty bout where Vettori should beat Cannonier, but somehow, some way, the judges will go, nah, 48-47. How the fuck do they always end up getting 48-47? None of these guys have like a thing that leads them to a legit, I can't even, it's not close. They keep saying close. And no media member will talk about it. They won't double back on it. They'll just move on. They'll just move on. How do you care about the sport if all you cover is, yeah, this fight comes up next. This fight comes up next. And then tweet out, oh, what a great fight. That's not how you care about what? You guys are so focused on the fucking business aspect. You're still not asking the right question. I've already talked about this, but it's insane. Dudes are getting robbed at the apex. We're going to move on. Those are the only two robberies on the card. It's disgusting. This really pissed me off. This was leaning up to like a really good... Just the way this card was like ending. Just the way this card was ending. I was like, oh shit, this is going to end really nice. And then somewhere out of the blue, it hits you like, oh fuck. Oh, bam. Oh fuck. Like what? How the fuck did that happen? Okay. Move on. This is honorable mentions category. All the scorecards are correct. I just have a few niggles with it. You get the point. You've heard the thing already. Reed versus Frey. I had this 30-27 Reed. I scored this like this every time. It should be 30-27 Reed. For some reason, the judges were just high today. They made no fucking sense. It's 30-27. You go to the first round. It's close on the feet, but it's pretty even on the feet. And then Reed is more active on the ground than Frey when Frey got the takedown. Frey gets a takedown in the first round, and she proceeds to do, oh my God, yo, I wish the Kansas City judges were here. I wish the Kansas City judges judged this fight, because they would have gotten it correctly. They were on fire. They had it all. Pudilova versus, I forgot her name. Pudilova versus Edwards. Same thing, round one, Pudilova gets a takedown. Proceeds to land maybe one legit strike while she's on top, and then gets outstruck on the feet. Well, guess what? This fight's slightly different. Even on the feet, Frey gets a takedown, proceeds to lay on her. Her coaches are imploring her, because I think her coaches are smart enough to understand that, hey, if you just strike down here, if you just land a few, the judges won't deny you this. They'll give you the round. They are in the back of my head. They are pleading. The judges are pleading. Oh my God! Just land body head for the next minute, and you win this round. You're on top of her. You've landed enough strikes to hold this round. Instead, no, Frey just lays there and lands no strikes at all. Zero strikes. Maybe lands one, but here's the point. Regardless of the fact that she landed maybe 3 strikes in total while she was on top of Reed, Reed is active. Now, if I suspect, I don't think any of the judges scored this round for Reed, but I'm just pleading my case for why this round belongs to Reed. Second round, no controversy. Reed outstrikes Frey on the feet. Frey gets a takedown, but once again, Frey is not active in the slightest, and Reed outstrikes her on bottom by a country on bottom. She's just active. She just keeps going. She doesn't even fucking stop. She doesn't stop. Okay? And then you go to round 3. Same thing. Same exact thing. Reed outstrikes Frey on the feet. Real quick note, the commentary don't know how to score. None of them know how to score. It's insane. And so we're stuck with this fact that because they don't know how to score, we need people in their ear basically telling them, hey, the numbers say this, but the fight says this. Well, learn how to fucking score, and you can interpret it well. Because at a certain point, it's annoying to just hear who I thought was doing well at first, Laura Sanko, just talk platitudes. Just talk platitudes and platitudes and platitudes. Oh, he's doing really well here. This is going to lead to the... Thanks, Laura. We know all this stuff. You're not giving us anything insightful in the slightest. Well, Michael Bisping wants to just rhyme. He wants to rap, but instead he's like, oh, yeah, the strike number. He's looking at the strike numbers like... Now, look, I have a lot of problem with with the strike numbers at times, but when you're watching the fight and looking at the strike numbers, you're like, oh, okay, those are pretty accurate. Those are pretty fucking accurate. But we have Michael Bisping going, the strike numbers say this, but she's on the floor. Those have nothing to do with each other. Those have zero to do with each other. And he did that for another fight here. I can't remember what fight it was. It might be the Santos fight. The fight where they're just blowing the opponent that is obviously losing. A good tell here is Michael Bisping will say this to the fighter who's obviously losing. Now, this is arbitrary, but still, you get the point. Oh my God, I'm not saying, Albazi's still landing, but he's getting outstruck and he's losing. Oh, Munoz still doing. I'm not saying Munoz isn't doing any work, but he's still getting fucking beat up and he's losing. So there's that. You go to the judges' scorecards. Brian Minner gives the last two rounds to Brian Minner, Ron McCarthy, and Mike Bell all have the same exact score. All have the same exact scorecard. They give the last two rounds to Reed. They give the first round to Frey. I don't like that first round for Frey. I feel like we should all differentiate how that goes. They were even on the feet, and Reed outstruck Frey from the bottom. Honorable mention, all three. We go to the next honorable mention. It's Castaneda versus Gafurov. Gafurov was basically like, let me throw overhands and headbutt. That was his game plan. But the scorecards. First round 10-9 for Castaneda. Second round, Gafurov won that round, but he got deducted for a wild headbutt. A wild headbutt. And so it's a 9-9 round, and then Castaneda wins the last round. He was close. It was a little teetery up until the end where Castaneda landed some strikes, but won the third round pretty nicely. And there's a 10-9 on that one. My scorecard is 29-27 Castaneda. You go to the first round. Close on strikes. Very close on strikes. But Castaneda drops Gafurov. It's his round. Boom. Second round happens. Gafurov gets 2 takedowns and outstrikes Castaneda on the feet. The headbutt happens, and it basically fucks him there. And then close on the feet in the third round, like Castaneda gets they're very close on the feet. Castaneda gets 2 takedowns. Gafurov is a little active. He's active to where I'm looking at it and I'm like, I might score this the other way. But then Castaneda lands enough ground and pound in that second takedown to basically win the fight. You go to the judges' scorecards, and Tony Weeks, his scorecard reflects mine. Chris Lee's scorecard reflects mine, and Junichiro Kamijo, his scorecard reflects mine. So boom, there's that. I just wanted to highlight the point deduction. Arlovski versus Mayes. I had this 10-9 to Mayes in the first round before Mayes KO'd Arlovski in the second round. I put a close marker on it. I put a close marker because the strikes were very close. Very, very close. And Mayes did enough in the end, at the very end, to tip it in his favor. Again, but it's very close. I kind of acknowledge that it's very close. Looking for it right now. Yeah. And then the judges' scorecards, Brian Minner, he gives a 10-9 to Mayes. Ron McCarthy gives a 10-9 to Arlovski. And then Derek clearly gives a 10-9 to Mayes. Again, it's a close round. So, if they all... I wouldn't be mad at any scorecard there. You go to one of the... probably the third or second interesting fight on this card. Santos versus Munoz. very interesting fight in this, not from a scorecard perspective, but I'll get to the narrative in a second. I had this 29-27. First 2 rounds I give to Santos. Last round, Santos wins the last round, obviously, but gets deducted for a groin strike that he definitely shouldn't have been hit with at all. We're going to go to the first round. Santos outstrikes Munoz on the feet, and he has some ground and pound. Now, the reason why I just say he has some ground and pound, he didn't actually have a takedown. Basically, Munoz pulled guard 20, 30,000 times and was ineffective down there. You go to the second round, Santos had 2 takedowns with loads of ground and pound, touching the 10-8 area. He was touching it a little bit. I didn't give it to him, but he was touching it. I think you could argue maybe a 10-8. He was just constant with the ground and pound. He didn't stop. He just kept going. It was a lot of side ground and pound, meaning a lot of the shots were to the side of the head, so maybe they don't, value those as much as if he were raining down punches from a top view, but still, regardless, he wins that round. And then you go to the third round where Santos gets 2 takedowns with ground and pound. Munoz gets a takedown as well. And then also that's the round where he's pointed, like at the start of that round, he's pointed for the groin strike. Now let's get to the narrative. Start of the fight happens, and Santos throws a leg kick that goes underneath a kick also thrown by Munoz and hits him right in the balls. Right? It's an obvious accident that Herb Dean then plays to be more serious than he should have, right? And I understand that's what he has to do, but when you're enforcing the final point, this is my core problem, is when he gets down to the final point. But the groin strike is accidental, very accidental, and he goes up to Santos and he's like, listen, hard warning. Okay, all right, that's fine. I thought later in the first round, I want to think it's later in the first round, Munoz then, you can interpret this as sort of a retaliation. He hits Santos in the balls as well. Santos kind of plays it off a little well, and then Herb kind of goes up to Santos, and it's caught on. Herb goes up to Munoz, and it's caught on camera where he says, "Hey, there's not much that he did to invite that." He basically said, "Hey, Santos didn't do anything to get hit there." Meaning, I think you hit him in that spot. But he let it go because he got hit in the balls, right? He kind of did the tit for tat thing, but he was like, hey, watch it, right? Boom. Then, I want to think it's in this first round or in the second, sometime there, they both accidentally, maybe on purpose, I don't know, it's kind of hard on this part, to where they both hit each other, and they both shake their cup, and you can both see it. Right? Everyone can see it. They both kind of shake their cup. They both kind of tap each other's cup a little bit with leg kicks. And Herb kind of ignores it because it's slight and it has nothing, and it's not like a hard foul. We then go to the third round where Santos throws another leg kick, and this one is insane because it literally glides off of Munoz's thigh and hits him in the cup. And Herb now wants to just take it into his own hands where he points him. Nonsense. Absolute. There's no need for the point there. He points him. Nobody seems to care on commentary that he points him. They just like, oh, it's the second one. He did, and they're not watching the ebb and flow of the fight, which is basically Munoz kind of being a little dirty. Yeah, I know. It's insane to say, right? Santos is fouling. Santos has the 2 hard fouls, but Munoz is kind of being the dirty person there. He, in fact, to really emphasize how dirty he was, he's doing a tit-for-tat groin strike battle with Santos. And then when he's on bottom, Santos is he's basically a grounded opponent. And Herb, not once, maybe not at all, isn't telling Munoz to chill with the up kicks, because some of the up kicks were legal, a lot of the up kicks weren't legal, and hit Santos many times. And Santos looks over to Herb, and Herb's just like, Go on. I'm not, you know, it's a little gross. It's very gross. And I don't want to interpret anymore. I don't want to say anything anymore. And it's really fucking gross. And that's pretty much the narrative of how that went. So yeah. You go to the judges' scorecards, and all three judges have it exactly the way I do. Tony Weeks, Chris Lee, and Zoldi Amato. Go to the next honorable mention, Nurmagomedov versus Dos Santos. I had this 28-29. This ended in a split decision. It shouldn't have. It's ridiculous that this was even a split decision. It's nonsense. First round, I put a close marker on. I put a 10-9 for Nurmagomedov. You can argue a 30-27 here. The last two rounds I gave to Dos Santos, but you can argue a 30-27 here. But the first round I gave to Nurmagomedov. Okay. And the last two rounds I gave to Dos Santos, 29-28 Dos Santos. In that first round, very close on the feet. Very close on the feet. Nurmagomedov was kind of ahead on strikes. And then Dos Santos had a nice way to finish, but Nurmagomedov was still ahead barely. So I gave that to Nurmagomedov. And then the second round, Dos Santos outstrikes Nurmagomedov on the feet. Nurmagomedov has a takedown, but does nothing with the takedown, and Dos Santos gets up pretty immediately and continues to outstrike him on the feet. This is the fight I'm referring to. This is the round that I'm referring to. The judges scored this. Okay, the judges scored this pretty fucking well. Granted, it's three different judges. It's three different judges. So if these three judges scored the main event, we would have had a different. I swear to God, we would have had a different scorecard. But that's neither here nor there. You go to the third round, and Dos Santos avoids getting taken down and outstrikes Nurmagomedov on the feet. That's where you get the 29-28. You go to the judges' scorecards. Brian Minner, his scorecard reflects mine. Ron McCarthy, he gives the first and the last round to Dos Santos. Very interesting. Very interesting. The first, I don't really care about. The last one, that's fine. The third one, honorable mention there to Ron McCarthy. What the fuck is Ron McCarthy thinking? That shit doesn't even. I've seen Ron McCarthy score rounds like that and get it right. What is going on here? He gives the second round to Nurmagomedov. That doesn't even fucking make any sense in the world. It makes no sense. Like I said before, Nurmagomedov gets outstruck. Yeah, he gets a takedown. Does nothing with the takedown. Gets outstruck on the feet. It's not even. It wasn't even close on the feet. Here's the takedown. It was, you're getting outstruck. I got a takedown. I continue to get outstruck. Nonsense. Honorable mention to Ron McCarthy. And then Derek Cleary decides to just fuck it and give the first round to Nurmagomedov. That's fine. Gives the second round to Nurmagomedov. I don't know what he's saying there. Then give the last round to Dos Santos. Honorable mention there to Derek Cleary. We go to the next honorable mention. Go to the next one. Elliot versus Altamirano. This one was 30-27. Elliot. This is a 30-27 Elliot. Okay. You go to the first round. Elliot had 2 takedowns with ground and pound. Altamirano was very active on the bottom, like annoyingly active to where I was looking and I'm like, okay, I hope Elliot's landing enough strikes to where we don't fuck this up, and that's what happened. Elliot was active. There were pockets where he was like, stop striking, and I'm like, bro, if he continues to stop striking, and he kept striking, so it was all right. Then you go to the second round. Both had 2 takedowns. But Elliot was the one that had more ground and pound, and he outstruck him on the feet. Elliot outstruck Altamirano on the feet, and he had more ground and pound when he had his takedowns. Much more ground and pound than Altamirano. Altamirano had little to no ground and pound when he had his takedowns. You go to the third round, and Elliot had 2 takedowns with ground and pound and outstruck Altamirano. Simples. You go to the scorecard. Ron McCarthy, Derek Cleary, 30-27 on both the scorecards, and then Chris Lee, he gives the first round and the third round to Tim Elliott, and the second round he gives to Altamirano. Honorable mention there. Honorable mention. No, thank you. You go to the next And that's it. That's it. The Caceres fight was fun. That was a good fight. The Miller fight, I wasn't expecting a crazy knockout. Silva versus Souza. Oh my God. Silva's amazing. Just the calmness. Just slip down, grab the dude. I've never seen the knee go from our angle rightward, and then just pop like that. Oh, crazy. But that's all really. That's all I got. I'm just stuck, man. I'm stuck. This shouldn't have happened. Kara-France gets robbed. Hopefully they give him. I don't know what they're gonna say in the back because you know what gives them like the leeway is. You know what sucks about this is unless someone because it's a robbery that many consider close. Right? Because this is what I probably hate about the commentary, is that they set up the next fight, whether purposely or accidentally, right? And when I say purposely, I mean, I don't think the commentary had any clue that, like, when Xiaonan beat Andrade, I don't think they had any clue that there was already a scheduled fight for the strawweight championship. I don't think they had any idea. I don't think they were like, oh shit, we already know that Lemos is going to fight her. I don't think they knew that already. So when they're over there matchmaking, the people, the matchmakers in the back are like, these motherfuckers all trying to fight. You don't think we thought of that? Like, I don't think that at all. But then sometimes, or when DC will ridiculously say, oh my God, Manel Kopp is next for the flyweight. It's like, you're not watching. You're not watching the flyweight. You're not watching. But what I'm saying is, it's almost as though they can give the UFC fodder, right? By saying it's a close fight 2 billion times, you have people online going, it's a close fight, when it's really not a close fight. And so that gives the UFC license in the back. If you were just the person, if you were a puppet master in the back, right? You were just like, oh shit, dude got robbed. Do we reckon? If it's a humongous robbery, they'll take care of it in the sense of, we will acknowledge this person as a win and move on. But when it's this is a robbery, but everyone's saying it's close, you then go, all right, we'll go Albazi versus this guy, right? They'll maybe downplay. Maybe they'll give him like Perez, right? They'll give him Alex Perez. They'll just shuttle him like slightly down, but they'll still acknowledge the win. It's a weird system of how this is going to work out. That's probably my only hatred with the commentary is they can just move on. They really don't have to say, yeah, Kara-France won. When Kara-France won, it's insane. It's absolutely nuts. It's nuts. And you know what's even worse is that the corners know who's winning. These corners knew, because there's many times corners don't know, or corners misunderstand when they're winning or losing. But when I'm sure the Kara-France corners is like, yeah, we know we're up. And then the other corner is doing the political thing, which is, you need to win this round, but they know. When you see Bays, right? Bays, the fighter, come next to Albazi and tell him, hey, that third one was your round, right? That's a soft way, in my interpretation, a soft way of telling him, yeah, you're down the first two. You lost the first two. This round is yours. Continue moving forward. Then when he comes back after the fourth, they're like, you need to win this round. I mean, Albazi isn't stupid. I'm sure he understands, like, I'm down. Like I've lost on the scorecards. And yet somehow they give him this fight. It's ridiculous. But that's all I got. I got to go to bed. Thank you all for listening. We move on to next week, the big pay-per-view, and God